What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and the other day I put a poll on my page asking you all if you thought Quinton Simon's remains were in the landfill that the FBI and law enforcement have been searching in for damn near a month now. Almost 5,000 of you all voted, and to my surprise, a whopping 67% of you all do not believe that Quinton's remains are located in that landfill. And listen, I know there are a lot of people out there that have questions, and a lot of people out there who doubt that his remains are really in the landfill. But I really thought this poll would be a little bit closer. In fact, if you want me to be honest with you all, I figured the majority of you all would think that Quinton was in the landfill. So it was a huge surprise to me to see, how many people do not believe the official narrative that is out there. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, what do I think? And instead of replying to 1,000 messages, I'm just going to go ahead and make this video and give you all my thoughts. Now, for one, I think anything is possible. In fact, we may go over some of the possibilities later on in this video, but my mind is open to all possibilities. But when I step back from the situation and I really look at it, I think the most likely explanation is that Quinton is in the landfill, because look at how much time, effort, look how many resources, look at how much money law enforcement has already spent on this particular landfill. That would lead me to believe that they have some type of solid evidence. Now, we know that they supposedly got some type of digital evidence from her cell phone. Maybe they pinged her phone at these dumpsters. And we were also told that maybe there was video evidence. But we now know that at least one of the cameras that was pointed at the dumpsters at the Azalea Trailer Park was down and not working. I cannot confirm if there are more cameras, but that is a huge possibility. But from the information we have right now, as far as we know, all video evidence is thrown out the window, because that camera that is pointing right on those dumpsters was down and not working at the time. So fingers crossed that they had other cameras in this area as well. But regardless if they have the video or not, law enforcement has already stated that they got some sort of evidence that leads them to believe that Quinton was disposed of in a particular set of dumpsters, and that dumpster was emptied into a trash truck and was taken to this landfill. So I believe that is the most likely explanation. In fact, when we all first heard about the Quinton Simon story, before we knew anything about this landfill, the first thing everyone thought was, hey, maybe she threw him in the trash. Because we all figured out that, oh, guess what? That same day that Quinton went missing was trash day. And the last time they saw Quinton was right before the trash man came, and right when Leilani called law enforcement, it was right after the trash man came. So it really seemed kind of odd, and all of us were already thinking, maybe she threw him in the trash or disposed of him in the dumpster or something. So that was people's first theory anyway. Now me, I wasn't so sure about that, because I was sent videos of this area, and part of me felt like maybe it's just too predictable. Her throwing away her kid in this trash, it's almost too predictable. And if you know anything about the area, then you know there are just plenty of other places where she could dispose of a toddler. And there's so many bodies of water, rivers, lakes, ponds, streams, creeks, you name it. There's wooded area, there's abandoned houses. There are just so many other places that Quinton could have been disposed of. But like I said, if investigators are, and it's not like they're even exploring a bunch of different options. We don't have teams out there searching other areas for Quinton. They are hyper-focused solely on this landfill. So I would hope, and I have faith in them for now, I would hope that they know what they're talking about. And they know for damn near a fact that, oh, Quinton must be here. Now, you have to keep in mind, just because they haven't found Quinton yet, and even if they never find any sign of Quinton, that does not mean that he is not in that landfill. These landfill searches, they aren't always successful. In fact, more often than not, they are not successful. It is extremely hard to find, traces of, especially a small toddler within this landfill filled with tons and tons of trash. And I don't want to paint a graphic picture, but I still see people under the impression that they're looking for a full Quinton Simon laying out there somewhere, but in reality, they're looking for remains. Okay? In all likelihood, Quinton was already put through some sort of trash compactor and things of that nature. And yes, that is graphic, and yes, that is disturbing, but that's the reality of the situation that we're dealing with. So you have to understand that the people out there searching for Quinton, it's beyond looking for a needle in a haystack. It's even more difficult than that. So just because they haven't found Quinton yet doesn't mean that they won't find Quinton out there. And even if they never find Quinton out there, it does not mean that he isn't out there. So I do think that's the most likely explanation. But, as more and more time passes, you just get more free time to speculate within your mind. And of course, you come up with all of these different possibilities. And I feel like the possibilities here are limitless. And I don't want to underestimate Leilani. I think sometimes we are guilty of, in the true crime community, we are guilty of almost overestimating someone. Think about the Brian Laundrie situation. All of the theories that even we all came up with during the Gabby Petito case. We gave Brian a little too much credit. We almost, in ways, it was almost as if people thought that Brian was smarter than what he was. And that Brian was this, criminal mastermind. And even the mainstream media, I feel like they were guilty of painting a picture about Brian being this, off the grid person that could live for the rest of his life in the woods. And he had all of this knowledge about nature and how to survive off the grid. So we painted this picture of Brian that necessarily wasn't how Brian really was. Because in the long run, the most simple explanation for what happened to Brian Laundrie is what winded up happening to Brian Laundrie. Although there are still people out there that thinks Brian Laundrie is alive. And I will still say to this day that it was extremely weird that law enforcement searched for this dude for weeks, found nothing, and then the family goes out there and finds him in 10 minutes. But hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, we gave him so much credit that he was this criminal mastermind that probably hopped on a skip boat and drove all the way to Mexico, and he's going to live in the woods for the rest of his life. And I don't want to give Leilani too much credit here. You know what I mean? But I also don't want to underestimate her. Because if you look at Leilani's past, the type of upbringing she has, then at the very least, Leilani has some street smarts. Maybe a little more than the average person. Leilani is someone who has done shady things in order to get her fix. There's a lot of things that I feel like Leilani is capable of. Also, Leilani's brother is a murderer who is in jail for murder. So maybe she has a little more insight on how to try to get away from things than the average person does. I don't know. Then again, Leilani could be stupid, and Leilani could be on video driving right to a dumpster and putting Quinton in a dumpster. We simply do not know. But I want to be careful not to give Leilani too much credit, but I also don't want to underestimate her because I do not put anything past anyone. And just speculation warning, is there a possibility that Leilani drove to this dumpster, contemplated on putting Quinton in that dumpster, and then decided to put him elsewhere? Is there a possibility that Leilani already thought about the fact that her phone would be pinged and she drove to a trailer park to throw off investigators Anything is possible. I don't think that's the case, but it is possible. And when I look at the Quinton Simon case, coincidences happen. We all know that. Things happen. But if this was an accident, what happened to Quinton, and Leilani disposed of Quinton after some tragic accident happening, then look at the timing. I guess it's just a wild coincidence that it happened when no one else was there, right before trash time. You know what I mean? Like, if this was an accident, whatever happened to Quinton, then damn, that's really odd timing that this accident happened right before trash pickup on a day where everyone was gone at work and out of town and what have you. But then again, if you think about it, maybe that's when an accident would be most likely to happen, when there aren't other people there supervising the situation. So it's a complicated situation, to say the least. And when I look at it, and the more time that passes, the more theories that we can come up with. But I still think, regardless of where my mind wanders, it always comes back to, the most logical explanation is that Quinton is in that landfill. However, I do hope that law enforcement and investigators are still exploring other avenues, and it would make me feel a lot more confident, and it would make me feel a lot better if there were still search teams searching the surrounding areas around Leilani's home. Because there are so many places around Leilani's home where she could have disposed of Quinton. And I mean just unlimited amounts of places where she could duck Quinton off and you would never ever find him. Especially if you're not looking and you're concentrating your search somewhere else. So, I don't know. Situation is getting very frustrating for me because we want answers. Every weekend, they're shutting down the search for Quinton. Now we have a tropical storm that was heading into the area. Who knows what the hell is going to happen? But I'm going to be here for every single update. So go ahead and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of all the real updates in the Quinton Simon case. While you're hitting that notification bell, drop a comment down below, hit that thumbs up button, and I will talk to you all in the next video.